As we pulled up, Jennifer's father was in the back of a squad car, and her mother was arguing with the officers that were on site.
You morons have no right to put my husband in there. When my son-in-law shows up, he will fix all of this if he knows what's good for him.
No, I won't. Can you not see the destruction you two have caused? This isn't a speeding or a parking ticket. You two ruined people's property and endangered the lives of everyone on the road. For crying out loud, you could have killed someone or yourselves.
Does this mean that you are refusing to make all of this go away?
Even if I wanted to. And I don't. No, I can't make this go away. Your husband is going to pay for the damage that he caused. Suddenly, Jennifer's mother went feral and screeched so loud we all had to put our hands over our ears until she stopped. She then lunged for me and started slapping and scratching my face until Jennifer pulled her off of me. She then punched her own mother so hard in the face that she knocked her out. Hi there, my name is Vincent, and growing up, I always wanted to be a police officer. My father was one, and when I would see him come home wearing his uniform, I just couldn't help but see him as my hero. I wanted that same thing for my own children, and I also wanted to help make the world a better place as well. So as I grew up, I made sure to do everything right. I studied hard in school and worked out, and when I was old enough, I went to the police academy, and the day I graduated was one of the happiest days of my life. Seeing my father looking proudly at me as I put my uniform on for the first time was everything that I could have hoped it would be. Years later, after I had been on the beat for some time, I happened to be doing my route, and I stopped for a cup of coffee. And that was when I saw her. Jennifer was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. She was working at the cafe, and when our eyes met, and we felt a real connection instantly. My stomach was full of butterflies, but I still managed to get the courage to walk over, ask her if she would do me the honor of going out to dinner with me. The smile that spread across her face when she said yes filled my heart with joy. Nearly several months later, and dozens of dates later, we made plans to introduce each other to our future in-laws. I know what you're thinking. It's a bit presumptuous of me to assume that we were going to get married, but both Jennifer and I had talked, and we knew that things were heading towards marriage. However, I would never have expected my in-laws to be as horrible as they ended up being. In the beginning, it wasn't too unusual. Just odd.
Hey, Mom and Dad, this is Vincent.
It's nice to meet you, Vincent. It's very nice to meet you as well.
Yes, it is. So Jennifer tells us that you're a police officer.
Yes, that is correct. I'm actually on my way to become a detective.
That's very good to hear. So if we ever get any speeding tickets, then I'm sure you wouldn't mind taking care of them for us, right?
Mom, why would you say such a thing?
I was taken a bit by surprise, but lots of friends and family have made similar jokes to me in the past. However, only a few weeks passed when I got a call from Jennifer's mother.
Hello, Vincent. Listen, I hate to be a bother, but I got a parking ticket. Would you be able to take care of it for me?
Wait a minute. What?
Oh, surely you can take care of it for me. We're practically family after all. You wouldn't turn your back on family, would you?
No, it's okay. I will do my best, though.
Just make sure that I won't have to pay it, okay? Thanks.
It was a pretty big ask, but I was worried that if I didn't come through and get it erased that she might tell Jennifer, and in my mind, I was worried that that would hurt our relationship. And so I asked around and was able to find a way to get the ticket erased. I ended up owing some favors to my fellow officers, but when my future mother-in-law called and thanked me and sang my praises to Jennifer, I felt very reassured. Months passed, and Jennifer and I started talking earnestly about marriage and what we wanted for our special day. We both wanted a small ceremony, and to only invite the people that were very important to us. After that, I saw no reason to put it off anymore, and I went out and bought an engagement ring, and soon afterwards I popped the question to Jennifer, who of course said yes. We were so incredibly happy, but that happiness faded when Jennifer's mother called. At first I thought she was going to congratulate us, but boy was I wrong. Oh, hey there. I guess Jennifer gave you the good news?
Oh yeah, congratulations on that, but no, I have something a bit more important. I got a speeding ticket yesterday. Some stupid cop caught me going 20 over the speed limit and had the nerve to give me a ticket. Since you were able to get the parking ticket erased, I figured that you would do the same for this one too, right? You're not going to let me down, right? I know Jennifer would be really upset if you did.
I knew that she was just manipulating me, but I was so worried that she would be right about Jennifer that I promised her I would look into it. A week later, I was able to get the officer that issued it to drop the ticket, owing yet even more favors to my fellow officers. But the worst of it was from Jennifer, which I found incredibly surprising.
Vincent, did you erase a speeding ticket for my mom?
Yes. I did. She made it sound like you would be disappointed in me if I didn't.
That's where you are wrong. I'm disappointed in you for doing it. You could have put your job in jeopardy for doing it.
I know. But she is family, and I would hate to let her down.
Oh, screw her. Listen, Vincent, I love my mother, but she is a horrible person, and if you keep giving in to her, she will only expect more and more. The next thing you know, she will kill someone and expect you to cover it up for her. I love you more than anyone in this whole world, but I am telling you, do not do that woman any more favors.
Okay, I understand. I won't help her out anymore. To be honest, I was a bit surprised and greatly relieved that Jennifer would say something like that. It gave me just the courage I needed when a few weeks later, I got a call in the middle of the night from her mother. Jennifer and I were asleep in bed when the phone rang. As I woke up, I somehow knew that it was her mother. Hello?
Vincent, I need you to come over right away.
What is it? Is everything okay?
No, not at all. Jennifer's father has been arrested. We need you to come over and speak with these idiots that are trying to arrest him.
Whoa! Hold on a minute. Why is he being arrested? What happened?
Oh, they're blowing it out of proportion. Jennifer's father and I went out and had a few drinks, and on our way home, my husband hit a few cars, but he really didn't cause that much damage.
So he was driving drunk and caused an accident? Okay, Jennifer and I are on our way. I then hung up the phone and started getting dressed. Jennifer, who had heard the whole conversation, started getting dressed as well.
Please tell me that you aren't going to bail her out again. I don't care if it's just a minor fender bender. I want you to promise me that you won't stick your neck out for them.
They're family. And no, I'm not going to do anything like that. But I will make sure that they are safe and that no one mistreats them at least. But if they are guilty, then they are going to pay for what they've done. When we arrived, I saw the path of destruction that Jennifer's father had caused. It wasn't just a simple fender bender. He had fully crashed into several cars, causing probably over $100,000 worth of damage. And that wasn't including the traffic signs that he had run over. And that was just on their own street. There was no way of telling how much damage he had done elsewhere. As we pulled up, Jennifer's father was in the back of a squad car, and her mother was arguing with the officers that were on site.
You morons have no right to put my husband in there. When my son-in-law shows up, he will fix all of this if he knows what's good for him.
No, I won't. Can you not see the destruction you two have caused? This isn't a speeding or a parking ticket. You two ruined people's property and endangered the lives of everyone on the road. For crying out loud, you could have killed someone or yourselves.
Does this mean that you are refusing to make all of this go away?
Even if I wanted to. And I don't. No, I can't make this go away. Your husband is going to pay for the damage that he caused. Suddenly, Jennifer's mother went feral and screeched so loud we all had to put our hands over our ears until she stopped. She then lunged for me and started slapping and scratching my face until Jennifer pulled her off of me. She then punched her own mother so hard in the face that she knocked her out. I was amazed that she would do that to her own mother to protect me. The officers on the scene saw it as self-defense and took my statement so that I could charge her with assault. Afterwards, Jennifer and I went home. We were exhausted and had no interest in helping either of those fools. The next day, the two of them were released on bail, and they immediately started calling us and demanding that I do something to remove the charges that were put against them. Both Jennifer and I ignored them, and over the next couple weeks, we avoided all of their calls and even the few visits that they attempted to do. They would come over at all times of the day and beg that I get the charges against them dropped. I, of course, had no interest in doing so, and Jennifer had my back. Eventually, they went to trial, and Jennifer's mother was sentenced to 2 years in prison for public intoxication and assault. Her father, however, got 12 years for driving while under the influence and for reckless driving. It would have been less, but he had hit so many other cars that they were forced to increase the punishment that he received. I had expected Jennifer to be upset upon hearing about her parents, but she was actually very relieved and even celebrated the outcomes to their trials. As far as we were concerned, they got exactly what they deserved. If anything, they should have faced even more punishments. After that, Jennifer and I eloped and got married in Caribbean. My parents were present, and many of our friends, but we made sure that her family didn't know anything about it. When we got back, we made arrangements to get restraining orders put against Jennifer's parents. The last thing we wanted to do was associate with those unstable people anymore. Then I got the news that made me smile wider than I ever had before. Jennifer told me that she was pregnant. I was so incredibly happy that we were going to start our family together, but what made it all the sweeter was the knowledge that Jennifer's parents would never get to meet their grandchildren. Both Jennifer and I would make sure of that. We had removed those toxic and horrible people from our lives, and we had no plans to let them back in. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. He loved humiliating people. If someone was a minute late, he'd call them out in front of the entire office. Look who finally decided to show up. Should we all bow in respect? I'm literally only a minute late. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was that bad. Before I knew it, Tyler gave me a resounding slap that echoed throughout the office. It is bad. I can't believe you're that stupid that you don't understand how that isn't bad. I expect you to be here 10 minutes at the very least before your shift starts. You may as well be an hour late if you are a minute late. I'm going to dock you 3 hours for this. Dock me? What do you mean? It means you are going to be working for free for the next 3 hours. Now get to work or I'll make it 6. One time, a coworker named Lisa had a family emergency and had to leave work early. The next day, Tyler plastered notes all over the office reading, "Only losers leave early," and he included a photo of her on the bottom of it. After that, he literally would constantly accuse Lisa of leaving work early because she was lazy and wanted to get home to watch TV. He was relentless in making up embarrassing reasons for why she had left that day. Because of this, Lisa quit the next week. Another time, he made Jeff, one of the oldest employees, do push-ups in front of everyone because he yawned during a meeting that was late in the day. Hey there, my name is Simon, and just like most people, I had always assumed that work wasn't supposed to feel like a prison. But under Tyler, that's exactly what it had become. When I first got hired, I was excited. This job had potential, a steady paycheck, and a chance to move up in the company. But I quickly realized the reality was much different. Tyler, our boss, was a tyrant. He was only middle management, but he carried himself around as if he owned the entire company. That, and he took liberties that he shouldn't have. There were things that he did that made question just how much authority that he had. For example, he refused to pay overtime, yet demanded we work 60 hours a week, sometimes even more. If anyone dared to complain, he'd laugh in their face. Oh, come on. You should be thanking me for the extra hours. You all should be grateful you even have jobs. But we're not getting paid for the extra hours, Tyler. Shouldn't we be getting overtime pay? Isn't it illegal to not be given overtime pay? And who exactly are you gonna tell? Go ahead, quit if you don't like it. See if you can find anything better. Just be glad you are getting hours. It's my choice to award you overtime pay, and none of you lazy morons have earned it. But we're working ourselves to death. Well, the second you lazy bums start dropping dead, then I'll start to care. He thought he had us trapped, and in a way, he did. Everyone needed the job. Rent, bills, family responsibilities, we couldn't afford to walk away. So we endured it because we thought we didn't have any other choice. Day after day, week after week, we let him overwork us, berate us, and treat us like dirt. Tyler's cruelty extended beyond just the hours. He loved humiliating people. If someone was a minute late, he'd call them out in front of the entire office. Look who finally decided to show up. Should we all bow in respect? I'm literally only a minute late. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was that bad. Before I knew it, Tyler gave me a resounding slap that echoed throughout the office. It is bad. I can't believe you're that stupid that you don't understand how that isn't bad. I expect you to be here 10 minutes at the very least before your shift starts. You may as well be an hour late if you are a minute late. I'm going to dock you 3 hours for this. Dock me? What do you mean? It means you are going to be working for free for the next 3 hours. Now get to work or I'll make it 6. One time, a coworker named Lisa had a family emergency and had to leave work early. The next day, Tyler plastered notes all over the office reading, "Only losers leave early," and he included a photo of her on the bottom of it. After that, he literally would constantly accuse Lisa of leaving work early because she was lazy and wanted to get home to watch TV. He was relentless in making up embarrassing reasons for why she had left that day. Because of this, Lisa quit the next week. Another time, he made Jeff, one of the oldest employees, do push-ups in front of everyone because he yawned during a meeting that was late in the day. We had been at work for 14 hours, and we were all exhausted and feeling burnt out. And the fact that Jeff was struggling to do the push-ups not only made him embarrassed, but we all felt incredibly awkward, just standing there being forced to watch as he struggled to do them.
If you've got the energy to yawn, you've got the energy to exercise. Give me 20 more. But I can't continue, sir. I'm tired. I don't want to hear excuses. Either give me 20 more push-ups or you're fired.
Jeff was mortified, but he did it because he had no choice. We could all tell that it hurt him to do so, though. But that didn't even compare to the time that Tyler literally attacked someone. It all started because Tyler was known for going into the staff fridge and helping himself to other people's food. People would constantly find their food half-eaten or missing. Finally, one day, Stuart finally got fed up with this, and he laced a brownie with a bunch of laxatives and left in the fridge, and sure enough, it went missing. Tyler spent that afternoon constantly rushing off to the bathroom, barely making it in time to avoid having an accident. It was clear that Tyler was in incredible agony. The next day, Tyler came into the office and found out who had tampered with his food, and when he did, he shoved Stuart down a flight of stairs. The scream he let out was awful, but he refused to go to authorities, as he feared that if he did, that Tyler would do something even worse. So yeah, working there was a complete nightmare, and sadly, none of us could figure a way to escape it. One night, after yet another grueling 14-hour shift, I collapsed onto the couch at home. My roommate Jake took one look at me and frowned.
Dude, you look like hell. What's going on at work?
Tyler's a slave driver. He's making us work insane hours, refuses to pay us overtime, and keeps saying we should be grateful to even have a job.
That's illegal, you know. He's supposed to pay you for the extra hours.
Yeah, but what can we do? He's the boss. It's not like we have proof.
You sure about that?
Well, yeah. Anyone that speaks out against him gets attacked. One time, I saw him steal a person's lunch and eat it in front of them because they left their desk 2 minutes before lunch was supposed to start. He just ate their food in front of them and scowled the whole time. And another time, he literally shoved someone down a flight of stairs.
That's insane. I mean, why are you putting up with that? Well, I think I may be able to help, though.
Jake was a bit of a hacker in his free time. One of the best I've ever known, actually. He grinned and cracked his knuckles before turning to his laptop. I watched as he worked, logging into my company's server, pulling up files, breaking through firewalls. Then his eyes widened.
Holy shit, Simon. You're not just being screwed out of your overtime pay. The company's been paying it, but Tyler's been siphoning it for himself. He's been taking the money and marking the records as if you all got it. But there is a lot more than that. Is Tyler married?
Are you serious? There's evidence for that? And yes, he is. Why?
As serious as a heart attack, and I ask, because Tyler has been using his work computer to talk to all kinds of women, and he has been using company money to pay for motel rooms with them. And looking at some of his conversations, it appears that more than a few of them are even underage.
There is no way that all that evidence is there. Was Tyler really that stupid?
It appears so. Tyler was indeed stupid enough to leave a paper trail. He's been stealing tens of thousands of dollars from you guys and the company as well. Probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, to be honest. And it looks like he has been using the company as cover for being a child predator. This guy is all kinds of awful.
My stomach twisted in rage and disgust. Tyler needed to be stopped. I couldn't believe that Tyler was not only a jerk, but a criminal as well. Can you print that out? All that evidence. Every last piece of it.
Already on it. I'll even print out multiple copies for you.
The next day, I stormed up to the highest floor where the board members of the company had their offices. They were Tyler's immediate bosses, and they needed to know what had been going on. I then slipped the documents into an envelope and slid them under doors to their offices. Then I waited. Tyler was in a foul mood all morning, snapping at everyone, barking orders. But around noon, something changed. His phone rang. He answered it, and within seconds, his face turned pale. Then, the office doors burst open. Several police officers entered, followed by Tyler's immediate boss. Tyler stood frozen, eyes darting around as if searching for an escape.
Tyler, we need to have a word. Now. This is ridiculous. What's going on? We have evidence of payroll fraud and theft, along with evidence that you have sexually assaulted dozens of young girls. You're coming with us. But I would never do any of that. You can't prove anything.
Tyler, seeing that he had no options and that the police weren't going to believe him, he bolted. He shoved past his desk, ran out of the office, and sprinted toward the stairwell. He was in such a panic that he tripped, tumbling down a full flight of stairs. We all heard the sickening crunch as he hit the bottom, groaning in agony. The officers caught up, handcuffed him, and hauled him away. For weeks, the office buzzed with new revelations. Not only had Tyler been stealing overtime pay and petty cash, but he had also kept the names of former employees on the payroll after they quit, pocketing their salaries. He had siphoned thousands upon thousands of dollars. As bad as all that was, once he was arrested, people began to come forward and tell how he had assaulted them and forced them to have sex with him. Among them were many girls who were mostly 17, but some were as young as 15. Their testimonies were the coffin nail that truly did him in. The second that his victims came forward, Tyler's wife filed for divorce. She was awarded not only all of his money, but all of his belongings as well. As for his legal punishment, he was sentenced to 45 years in prison. And of course, it goes without saying that he was fired as well. To add insult to injury, though, I heard that he broke his leg so badly that he will never be able to walk around without being in constant pain and the use of a cane, which in prison was going to be a challenge. He was forced to use a wheelchair most of the time, but that didn't get him any sympathy. As soon as his fellow inmates found what he had been arrested for, they constantly beat him up. He spent just as much time in the prison yard as he did in the infirmary. Back at work, though, with Tyler gone, the company hired a new boss, someone who actually valued the employees and treated us with compassion and encouragement. The person they hired was named Derek, and he told us that family always came first, and that if we ever needed to leave because of an appointment or a family emergency, that he would understand. On top of that, if we wanted to work overtime, then he would make sure we were compensated accordingly, but that it wasn't mandatory. Morale skyrocketed. People laughed again. Lunch breaks were enjoyable. And best of all, we finally got paid what we were owed. The company, embarrassed by how badly we had been mistreated, paid us all back double the overtime that Tyler had stolen. Some employees used it to pay off debts, others took long overdue vacations. And me? I used part of mine to buy Jake something he had always wanted, a rare signed baseball from his favorite player. I mean, it was the least I could do. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. Some cop came in here the other day asking about you. Big black dude, bald, looked pissed off. What did he say? Told us you were a fraudster, that you scammed people and we should be careful around you. I was so angry. First the gay rumors, and now he's going around calling me a fraudster. I did nothing to this man. He was trying to ruin my life so badly. Did he say anything else? Just that you were bad news and that we should keep an eye on you whenever you come here. This was beyond harassment. This was a character assassination. Everywhere I went, I felt eyes on me. People who used to greet me with a smile were suddenly avoiding eye contact. Conversations would stop when I walked into a room. A couple of my neighbors who used to chat with me in passing now kept their distance. I've never had a problem with black people. I grew up in a diverse neighborhood, went to school with all kinds of people, and never once had an issue. So when I found out my new neighbor was a black police officer, I thought it was a good thing. Having a cop next door had to be a plus, right? I figured he'd be a decent guy, someone who'd look out for the neighborhood. I was wrong. The first time I saw him, he was getting out of his car, still in uniform. He was a tall, muscular guy with a shaved head and a stern face. His badge was boldly on display, and I thought, well, this guy's probably got a lot of interesting stories to tell. I smiled, walked up with my hand outstretched, and said, "Hey man, I'm Daniel. Just wanted to introduce myself. I live next door." "The hell do you want?" His tone was harsh, like I'd done something to offend him. Nothing. Just saying hi. I like to know my neighbors." "Figures.
White boy like you probably grew up thinking everybody's gotta be friends. You one of them types?
I had no idea what he meant, but his attitude was so openly hostile that I was already regretting walking over. I just believe in being friendly, man. That's all.
Friendly, huh? That's what they're calling it now? You are a little homosexual or something? Trying to be all nice and cozy with a black man?
Excuse me?
You heard me. White boys like you, always trying too hard. Either you are scared of black men or you want to be us. Which one is it?
I was dumbfounded. I had never in my life been spoken to like that for simply greeting someone. Look, man, I was just trying to be neighborly. If you don't want that, fine.
Yeah, walk away, little punk. Thought I wouldn't see through your act? I know exactly what kind of person you are. Stay in your lane. What?
I wanted to respond, but I didn't say anything. It wasn't worth it. I wasn't going to get into an argument with a cop, especially one who seemed like he was itching for a fight. I went back inside, still stunned by the encounter. Who the hell did this guy think he was? I had never seen someone so openly aggressive for no reason. And the worst part? He was a police officer. The kind of guy who had power, who could ruin someone's life with the flick of a pen. Something told me this wasn't going to be the last time I had trouble with Officer Malik Carter. And I was right. At first, I thought I could ignore him. I figured he was just one of those people who had a chip on his shoulder, and if I stayed out of his way, he'd do the same. I was wrong. Officer Malik Carter made it his personal mission to make my life miserable. It started with the stairs. Anytime I stepped outside, whether I was heading to work, taking out the trash, or just getting my mail, he'd be there, leaning against his car, arms crossed, watching me with a smirk. Like he was daring me to say something. Then, the rumors started about me being a homosexual and a pedophile. He told everyone who cared to listen to him. It didn't stop there. One day when I stepped outside, my stomach sank further. My car was gone. I called the towing company, thinking it was a mistake. The guy on the phone chuckled. "Oh, that's no mistake, buddy. A police officer reported your car abandoned and suspicious. It's impounded now. You'll need to pay a hefty fine to get it back." And the worst part? Malik wasn't done yet. That same day, my landlord called. His voice was tight, formal.
"Daniel, I've received complaints. I can't have troublemakers in my building. You have 4 weeks to find a new place."
"You can't do this. I didn't do anything."
"Not my problem. Your lease is terminated."
I was being kicked out of my own home. A few days later, I was grabbing lunch at my usual spot, a small cafe just a few blocks from my office. A barista named Evan, who had been serving me for years, gave me a strange look when I walked in.
"Hey man, got a second?"
"Yeah, what's up?"
"Some cop came in here the other day asking about you. Big black dude, bald, looked pissed off."
"What did he say?"
"Told us you were a fraudster, that you scammed people and we should be careful around you."
I was so angry. First the gay rumors, and now he's going around calling me a fraudster. I did nothing to this man. He was trying to ruin my life so badly. Did he say anything else?
"Just that you were bad news and that we should keep an eye on you whenever you come here."
This was beyond harassment. This was a character assassination. Everywhere I went, I felt eyes on me. People who used to greet me with a smile were suddenly avoiding eye contact. Conversations would stop when I walked into a room. A couple of my neighbors who used to chat with me in passing now kept their distance. And every time I ran into Malik, he made sure I knew exactly who was responsible.
"What's up, Danny boy? People talking yet? Man like you should watch where he walks. Never know when people might stop trusting you." "Oh, heading to work. They still got you there? Surprising, considering your reputation."
It was even worse because he would say it loudly. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to scream at him, to tell everyone the truth. But I knew how this worked. He was a cop. If I caused a scene, he'd twist it, make me look like the bad guy. I had to be smart, because one way or another, Officer Malik was going to pay for what he was doing to me. Then one morning, I woke up to find my street filled with whispers. Neighbors who had already turned against me were now looking at me with disgust and horror. And then I saw it. Flyers. Someone had printed out hundreds of them and plastered them all over my neighborhood. My face was on them, along with the words, "Beware, violent predator in your community." I ripped one off a wall and felt my blood boil. The flyer claimed I had attacked an elderly man and assaulted a child. It was all lies. And at the bottom, in bold letters, was my full name, address, and phone number. Malik had doxed me. It got worse when he took it to my workplace. I found out what he'd done from a colleague at work. We had a club meeting after office hours, so I couldn't leave early. When I finally got a chance to check my phone, I saw a message from a friend. "Dude, what did you do to that cop? He's telling people you force yourself on men." He told one of his fellow officers, "That guy is friends with my brother, said you're some predator who gets guys drunk and takes advantage of them. He says you're also a thief, and he's waiting for the right time to put you behind bars." Bro, this is bad. I was so angry. It wasn't enough for him to spread lies about me being a fraudster and a homosexual. Now he's making plans to put me behind bars? I didn't even have time to react properly. My company's meeting went on longer than expected, and I couldn't just storm out. I needed my job, and causing a scene wouldn't help. So I forced myself to sit through it. By the time I finally got out, I was still furious. When I finally got home, I saw him. Officer Malik was standing by his patrol car, leaning against it like he had no care in the world. He was chatting with someone on the phone, laughing loudly, like he hadn't just tried to destroy my reputation a few hours ago. Something inside me snapped. I didn't care that he was a cop. I didn't care that I'd probably regret it later. I marched straight over to him. "You got something to say to me, officer?" "Well, look who it is. What do you want?" "You know damn well what I want. Why the hell are you spreading those lies about me?" "You should watch your tone, boy." "Or what? You gonna run around telling more people your little stories? Maybe say I'm a serial killer next? What's wrong with you? Why do you hate me so much when I never even offended you?" "Well, people like you make me sick. Look at you. No muscles. You look sick. You're nothing but a homosexual deceiving people with that accent of yours to make you look cool. Are you crazy? You also have an accent. I'm American. How else do you expect me to sound? Just because I'm not muscular doesn't mean I'm homosexual. You sound so ridiculous. I've done nothing to you. You exist. That's enough. That was it. I had nothing else to say to him because I felt so disgusted. But the second my back was turned, Malik grabbed my wrist, twisted it behind me, and shoved me face first against his car. "You're under arrest." "What the hell? For what?" "Drunk and attempting to attack a cop. And let's add resisting arrest while we're at it." I nearly went crazy. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't even resisting. I didn't try to attack him. He was just desperate to arrest me. Before I knew it, I was in the back of his patrol car, on our way to the station where he locked me up as soon as we got there. I spent 2 days in that filthy holding cell, knowing damn well that I'd done nothing wrong. At first, I thought they'd let me go after a few hours, once they realized Malik had no case against me. But that didn't happen. Instead, the officers on duty ignored me, looking at me like I was something disgusting. They didn't say much at first, but eventually, I overheard them whispering, "That's the guy Malik warned us about. He tried to force himself on Malik? Damn, a fraud too? Man, some people got no shame." I was furious, but what could I do? I was stuck in there with no phone, no lawyer, no way to prove my innocence. I had no idea what he'd written in the report, no clue what kind of charges he was trying to pin on me. Then, on the morning of the third day, one of the officers opened the gates of the cell, and I was released. The moment I walked out of that station, I knew I wasn't letting this go. Malik thought he could abuse his badge, ruin my name, and walk away like nothing happened. Not a chance. I went straight to my father, a civil rights attorney with a reputation for taking down corrupt cops. When I told him what had happened, he didn't even hesitate to tell me we will be suing Malik. Malik had locked me up for 2 days based on nothing but lies. He had falsified charges, slandered me, and abused his power just because he could. My father filed the lawsuit immediately. Investigations started, and the police recovered security footage from my neighborhood. They also found complaints that people had filed against Malik, but the police had previously swept them under the carpet. At first, Malik acted like it was nothing. He walked around the neighborhood like he owned the place, giving me smug looks every time he saw me. But that confidence didn't last long. Once the court summoned him, he realized this wasn't going to be swept under the rug. The trial was brutal. My father dismantled Malik piece by piece, exposing every lie he had told with the evidence gotten from the security cameras, and also some people testimonies. The officers at the station had no choice but to admit they had released me because Malik had no evidence. That alone was enough to damage his credibility. But the turning point came when we got him to confess. In front of the entire courtroom, he admitted to arresting me without cause. He admitted to lying to his fellow officers. He even admitted that he had made up the fraud allegations just to ruin my reputation. And just like that, everything changed. My neighbors, who had believed his lies and had treated me like I was some kind of criminal, suddenly realized what they had done. They were ashamed. People who had ignored me, who had whispered behind my back, now stepped forward to make things right. One by one, they came to out as witnesses. They testified about the things Malik had said, the way he had turned them against me. They admitted they had treated me unfairly, and they made it clear that they didn't want someone like him representing their community. And once the trial started making headlines, the pressure on the system grew. Malik wasn't just facing a lawsuit anymore. The state took action, and he was fired from the force and banned from ever working in law enforcement again. His family and friends were embarrassed and cut ties with him. And when the final verdict came, he wasn't just stripped of his badge, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for falsifying charges, defamation, abuse of power, and misconduct. He was taken out of the courtroom with cuffs on his wrists. For the first time, he wasn't cocky. He wasn't arrogant. He was just a man who had destroyed his own life. I walked out of that courthouse free, my name cleared, and my reputation restored. While Malik was being led out by a couple of police officers, he somehow managed to steal the keys to his handcuffs, unlock himself, and jump onto one of the bikes outside before fleeing. Everyone was shocked at how fast and clever his escape was. News agencies not only reported on Malik's downfall, but now had an even bigger story. A disgraced cop had slipped out of police custody in broad daylight. A massive manhunt began, with helicopters and police cars searching for Malik. But he was nowhere to be found. I was terrified. Weeks passed, and Malik was still missing. Being a former police officer, he knew how the force operated and how to avoid capture. Apparently, he was hiding in the mountains, planning his revenge. Then one night, I received a notification from my home security camera. My heart pounded as I checked the footage. It was Malik, breaking into my house. But I had expected this. Since I knew he was on the run, I had secretly moved to a motel and turned my house into a booby-trapped nightmare. As soon as Malik stepped through the first door, a motion-activated speaker played, "Hey, I see you. Nice try, dummy." He froze. I watched the live footage, laughing from the safety of my motel. Next, he tried to move forward, but the door ahead was locked, trapping him inside. Frustrated, he attempted to break a window, only to realize it was fake, just a realistic painted mural. Then, I activated another trick. A hidden speaker in another room played a deep, menacing growl. Malik knew that I used to own a big dog, and he hesitated, sweating. Was the dog still inside? Would I release it on him? The lights suddenly shut off, plunging the house into darkness. Then, another pre-recorded voice echoed through the room. "Open door number 3. Take the vacuum and start cleaning." Malik stood there, completely confused. Was this a joke? A nightmare? But panic took over, and instead of fighting back, he grabbed the vacuum and started cleaning. I couldn't stop laughing. That's when I called the cops. When the police arrived, they found Malik, the great fugitive, obediently vacuuming my floor. He was arrested on the spot and taken straight to prison, where he belonged. I later went to prison and greeted Malik. When he saw me, he was furious. I looked him in the eye and said, "Enjoy your time here. And remember, you're not a cop anymore, so watch your back." I swear he was terrified. Then I walked out. Later, I heard that Malik was labeled a snitch and became a target for other inmates, which made him constantly paranoid. He sank into depression. And to make matters worse, his cellmate was a serial killer. Malik now lives in constant fear. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more interesting stories.
Richard had gone out to run some errands, and I was at home with Caleb, just enjoying a peaceful day. I left him in the living room for just a few minutes while I went to the kitchen to grab a bottle. But when I came back, Caleb was gone. My heart stopped. I searched the entire house, calling his name, but he was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as I realized that Emma and Lily were also missing. I called Richard, my voice shaking with fear. We called both of our families, the police, everyone we could think of. Hours passed, and still, no sign of Caleb or the girls. And then, my phone rang. The man on the other end of the line told me he has my son.
I have your baby. I'll send you the address now. Come as quickly as possible. Don't be scared. I don't want anything from you. I'm only helping you.
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I married Richard, who already had 2 daughters with his late wife. From the first time I met Emma and Lily, I knew there would be trouble. It wasn't just the glares they shot in my direction, the way their voices dropped to a whisper when I walked into a room, or how unfairly they treated me. Their father, Richard, was oblivious, or perhaps hopeful that things would smooth over with time. But I knew better. There was something more than simple dislike in their eyes. There was a deep-rooted hatred that I couldn't quite understand. They had lost their mother years before I met them, and I suppose in some ways, I was an unwelcome reminder that life was moving on. I tried to be understanding, tried to win them over with kindness, but it seemed the more I tried, the worse things became. At first, it was small things. Emma would forget to set a place for me at the dinner table. Lily would take my clothes from the laundry and dump them on the floor. I brushed it off, telling myself that they just needed time. But with every passing day, their efforts to drive me out became more calculated, more malicious. They weren't just trying to get under my skin, they were trying to break me. Their father, Richard, tried his best to discipline them. He would scold them when they were rude, ground them when they disobeyed, but it was as if nothing he said or did could change their minds about me. They wanted me gone, and no amount of punishment could sway them. It wore me down. I began to feel like I was walking on eggshells in my own home, constantly watching what I said and did, always on guard for the next cruel trick or hurtful remark. I tried to hide it, to be strong, but the stress was eating away at me. Soon enough, I started having panic attacks, those terrifying moments when it felt like the world was closing in, and I couldn't breathe. My hands would shake, and my heart would race, my mind spinning with anxiety about what they might do next. Richard was supportive, but I could tell it was tearing him apart. He loved his daughters, but he could see what they were doing to me. He suggested therapy, and though I was reluctant at first, I finally agreed. I needed help, anything to ease the suffocating anxiety that had taken over my life. But even therapy couldn't prepare me for what was to come. After a year of marriage, I became pregnant with our son, and that's when the real nightmare began. Emma and Lily were furious when they found out. It was as if my pregnancy was the ultimate betrayal. They didn't say much at first, just stared at my growing belly with cold, hostile eyes. But their actions spoke louder than words. They tried again and again to make me fall. They would leave things lying on the stairs, push past me a little too forcefully in the hallway, and leave puddles of water on the kitchen floor. But luck was on my side. I never fell, never got hurt, and I carried my baby to full term. When I finally gave birth to my son, Caleb, I thought things might change. I thought that seeing their baby brother might soften them, might make them see me as something more than the woman who had stolen their father. But I was wrong. They didn't even congratulate me. They just stared at Caleb like he was something dirty, something they didn't want in their lives. Richard tried to talk to them, tried to get them to bond with their new brother, but they wouldn't listen. Their hatred for me had transferred to Caleb, and I was terrified of what they might do. 3 months later, my worst fears came true. It was a quiet afternoon. Richard had gone out to run some errands, and I was at home with Caleb, just enjoying a peaceful day. I left him in the living room for just a few minutes while I went to the kitchen to grab a bottle. But when I came back, Caleb was gone. My heart stopped. I searched the entire house, calling his name, but he was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as I realized that Emma and Lily were also missing. I called Richard, my voice shaking with fear, and he rushed home immediately. We called both of our families, the police, everyone we could think of. Hours passed, and still, no sign of Caleb or the girls. And then, my phone rang. The man on the other end of the line told me he has my son.
I have your baby. I'll send you the address now. Come as quickly as possible. Don't be scared. I don't want anything from you. I'm only helping you.
I could barely breathe. He sent me an address. Richard and I didn't waste a second. We drove to the address, an old-looking building on the outskirts of town. My hands were trembling as we pulled up. When we walked into the building, we found Emma and Lily tied to 2 chairs, their faces bruised and bloodied. Caleb was nearby, lying in a crib, crying softly. The man who had called us stood in the corner, arms crossed. He was tall and rough-looking, but there was something about him that seemed familiar.
Sharon? Right. I figured it was you.
I stared at him, trying to remember his face. And then it clicked. He was the man I had helped a few years ago, back when he had been homeless. I had found him on the street, freezing in the winter cold, and had helped him get an apartment. I hadn't seen him since, but we had kept in touch briefly after that.
They came to me, these girls, said they wanted to sell the kid. I recognized them from your Facebook photos. You know, the ones with your stepdaughters. They didn't know I knew you, so I played along at first. But when I told them I wasn't going to help, they tried to fight me. I had to rough them up a bit and tie them down until you got here.
Richard's face was a mask of disbelief. He looked at his daughters, tied to those chairs, bruised and beaten, and I could see the devastation in his eyes. Richard's first instinct was to call the police. He didn't care if his daughters ended up in jail. After what they had done, after the fear they had caused, he was ready to see them punished. But I stopped him. I wasn't interested in sending them to prison. That wasn't the solution. Prison wouldn't make them understand the depth of their betrayal. It wouldn't heal the damage they had caused, or change the way they viewed me or Caleb. No, I had a different punishment in mind. Something that would make them face the consequences of their actions in a way that prison never could. We took Caleb home that night, and I packed the girls' bags myself. I didn't say a word to them as I folded their clothes, packed up their belongings, and set their suitcases by the door. They didn't deserve an explanation. They knew what they had done. When Richard asked what I planned to do, I told him. The next day, we sent Emma and Lily away. Not to juvenile detention, not to a facility for troubled teens, but to a place that would make them confront their hatred head-on. We enrolled them in a boarding school for troubled youth, one that specialized in reforming kids who had gone down dark paths, just like Emma and Lily. It was strict, with a no-nonsense approach to discipline. But more than that, it was a place where they would be forced to interact with other kids who had suffered far more than they ever had. They would be surrounded by children who had been abandoned, abused, neglected. Children who had lost everything. And they would be forced to face the fact that, despite their privileged lives, they had tried to destroy the one good thing they had left, which is their family. The school had a strict no-contact policy for the first 6 months. Emma and Lily would have no access to phones, no visits from family, no connection to the outside world. They would be isolated, forced to reflect on their actions, and given intensive counseling to help them work through their hatred and resentment. It wasn't prison, but in many ways, it was worse. They couldn't hide behind their father's love, couldn't manipulate their way out of consequences. They were alone, left to face themselves and the damage they had caused. For 6 months, we didn't hear from them. Richard struggled with the silence, but he knew it was necessary. He knew that if they ever came home, they needed to be different. They needed to understand the depth of their cruelty and take responsibility for their actions. When the 6 months were up, we visited the school. I didn't know what to expect, whether they would have changed or whether they would still harbor the same resentment. But when we arrived, I saw it in their eyes. They were different. They weren't broken, but they were humbled. The hatred they had once directed at me seemed to have faded, replaced by something like shame. They couldn't look me in the eye, couldn't meet my gaze without flinching. For the first time, they apologized.
You've been so nice to us, yet all we've ever done is be rude and unfair to you. We're so sorry, Sharon.
Yeah, Emma had said it all. We're sorry. Please forgive us.
It wasn't a perfect apology, and I knew there was still a long way to go, but it was a start. We brought them home, but things were never the same. They would never be the same. The walls that had been built between us over the years were thick, and despite their apologies, I knew it would take more than words to fix the damage they had done. Emma and Lily were quiet when they came home. They didn't try to cause trouble anymore, didn't look for ways to push my buttons or undermine me. They were polite but distant, as though they were afraid to get too close. I could see the guilt weighing on them, especially when they looked at Caleb. He had been the innocent victim in all of this, and now that they were back, they seemed to understand that. Richard and I worked hard to rebuild our family, but the scars left behind were deep. There were times when I wondered if it would have been easier to send the girls away for good, to cut ties and start fresh without them in our lives. But I couldn't do that. Not to Richard and not to the girls. They were still his daughters, and despite everything they had done, he loved them. Therapy became a regular part of our lives. Richard and I went together, while Emma and Lily attended their own sessions. It was hard work, and there were days when I didn't think we would make it. But slowly, things began to change. Emma was the first to open up. One night, while I was sitting in the living room with Caleb asleep on my lap, she came in and sat down beside me. At first, she didn't say anything, just stared at the floor. But after a long silence, she finally spoke.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I hated you so much. I thought you were trying to replace our mom.
Sweetheart, I was not trying to replace her. I never wanted to. I just wanted to love your dad, and to love you and Lily too. She was in tears now.
Yes, I know that now. But I didn't back then. I was just so angry.
I understand, and I forgive you. We hugged, and then Lily also came and joined us after apologizing too. Our family soon became that happy one I always wanted, and I couldn't be happier. Thanks for watching.
While my own accomplishments were often overshadowed and overlooked. James, why can't you be more like Ella? Look at her making us proud. I'm disappointed in you. Every time I made a mistake, or even stumbled through a spelling test, my father would lament about how much of a dumbass I was. Ella always seemed to be floating in her greatness. One day, Ella stole Mom's car and went for a ride. She had a minor accident and broke the car's front light. When our parents returned, she pretended to be ill and told them that I had taken the car for a joyride. Without hesitation, Dad slapped me and grounded me for a week. From then on, I was given most of the chores at home, like mowing the lawn and cleaning, while Ella would be on her phone, chatting with her friends. As the years passed, our relationship shifted from sibling friendship to a fierce rivalry. From the day Ella was born, my world began to revolve around her, and I quickly realized I was in for a lifetime of competition. My name's James, and this is my story. As a child, I didn't fully understand it, but my parents made it clear that my little sister was their golden child. Even as infants, they would snap countless pictures of her, while I lingered quietly in the background, feeling like a ghost in my own home.
Look at her smile. Isn't she the cutest thing?
I didn't ask for much. All I wanted was just a little acknowledgement, a pat on the back, but that seemed to be reserved solely for Ella. It was like living in the shadow of a bright light, and as we grew older, that shadow only got bigger. In elementary school, Ella quickly became known as a genius. My parents made sure she was in the same class as me. She learned to read before most of our classmates and picked up musical instruments with a skill that astonished everyone. My parents paraded her achievements around, boasting to friends and family, while my own accomplishments were often overshadowed and overlooked. James, why can't you be more like Ella? Look at her making us proud. I'm disappointed in you. Every time I made a mistake, or even stumbled through a spelling test, my father would lament about how much of a dumbass I was. Ella always seemed to be floating in her greatness. One day, Ella stole Mom's car and went for a ride. She had a minor accident and broke the car's front light. When our parents returned, she pretended to be ill and told them that I had taken the car for a joyride. Without hesitation, Dad slapped me and grounded me for a week. From then on, I was given most of the chores at home, like mowing the lawn and cleaning, while Ella would be on her phone, chatting with her friends. As the years passed, our relationship shifted from sibling friendship to a fierce rivalry. Every school play, art competition, and academic challenge morphed into a battleground. Ella was always watching and waiting for the moment to one-up me. It became a constant game of one-upmanship that I never signed up for. One day, I announced that I was going to be the school's president. I was proud of my decision to run, and hoped my parents would be too. However, the reverse was the case.
Oh, that's nice, James. But you know Ella would make a great president too, don't you?
Her words felt like a slap to my face. It didn't matter that I had a good chance. Ella had somehow managed to try to steal the spotlight yet again. Sure enough, she signed up to run against me, launching her own campaign filled with slogans and promises that seemed to outshine my own. I cried my eyes out because I knew she'd win. Ella had a knack for manipulating situations to her advantage. I remember vividly the time I was selected for a special science project. I poured my heart into it, working tirelessly, only to find Ella showing up with a more elaborate display on the day of the fair. Well, despite the situation, I managed to maintain decent grades and keep my head above water. But as we entered senior high school, the favoritism towards Ella grew stronger. She became the star athlete, leading her teams to victory, while my modest accomplishments felt less and less significant in comparison. Family gatherings became unbearable. My parents gushed over her athletic achievements, celebrating every win while I sat quietly, pretending not to notice. I wanted to shout, to demand attention, but it felt futile. Did you see Ella score the winning goal last week? What a star! She's my true blood, always winning.
She's my true blood too.
Everyone laughed at their little argument. Ella thrived on the attention, soaking up every bit of praise like a sponge. It felt as though no matter what I did, I would always remain in her shadow. The competition became my new normal. Every day felt like a fight for validation and recognition. As college approached, I clung to the hope that I could finally break free from the cycle of rivalry. I pursued a degree in political science, dreaming of a career in public service where I could make a real difference. But of course, Ella had her own plans. She went for the same degree and announced her intentions to run for local office immediately after I did.
Oh, James, maybe you should just let Ella take this one. She has a real talent for this. You know it suits her more than you. Oh dear, I can't even understand why you went for politics.
It felt suffocating. Our political ambitions clashed in a way that was both expected and shocking. Ella and I began campaigning for the same position. The stakes felt higher than ever. I poured my heart into my campaign with a determination I had never known before, hoping to outshine her once and for all. Ella, however, was not one to back down easily. She unleashed a ruthless side I had never seen before. She spread rumors about my character, claiming I was dishonest and untrustworthy. What kind of person does that? She's so desperate to beat you. Is she even your true sister? That's definitely not how a real sister behaves. She's so unfair. No matter how hard I fought back, Ella continued her onslaught. She had our parents behind her, cheering her on and fueling her fire. It felt like the entire family had turned against me, leaving me to fight alone in a battle I had never wanted. Despite the obstacles, I refused to give up. I hosted community events, engaged with voters, and made it clear that I was committed to making real change in our town. But Ella's dark tactics reached new heights. One day, I discovered her plan to sabotage my fundraising event. I had spent weeks organizing it, and when I showed up, I found my supplies destroyed and my guests turned away. Ella stood at the entrance, smirking as she reveled in my failure. Did you do this?
Who, me? Why would you ask me that? I just came to support the community and my lovely elder brother.
It was such an obvious lie. Her eyes said it all. But how could I hold her responsible when she was so smooth with it and made it impossible to find any evidence against her? It became apparent that she was willing to do whatever it took to win, even if it meant tearing me down. The rivalry had grown toxic. Ella's last-ditch effort to eliminate me was to hire someone to plant drugs in my car, hoping for my arrest. I had no idea, of course. I was on my way to where I'd be giving my campaign speech when the police pulled me over. Drugs were found in your vehicle. Care to explain that? I was arrested. Thankfully, the news didn't go round, and I didn't have to spend more than a night at the station because the man she hired to plant the drugs in my car decided to snitch on her. Apparently, Ella was too stingy to pay him completely and called his threat to expose her a bluff. I was immediately released after he provided evidence of his claims. The scandal that followed was overwhelming. The news spread like wildfire, painting Ella and my parents in the worst light imaginable. Apparently, my parents and Ella had conspired to sabotage me. It didn't take long before they were arrested, handcuffed, and led away, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my campaign. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was stepping into the light, free from the shackles of my family's favoritism. With my parents and sister gone, I won the election for city council, a position I had long dreamed of. I made changes that resonated with the community and gave back in ways that truly mattered. 5 years passed, and I continued to grow in my political career. I became a respected voice in our town, advocating for change and earning the trust of the people. I even married a wonderful woman named Sarah, and together we welcomed 2 beautiful children into the world. Life was good, and I felt proud of what I had built. But then came the day when my parents and Ella were released from prison. I received a call from my mother.
James, we need your help. We've lost everything. We have no one to turn to now. Please help us.
You need my help now? Wow, you should have thought about that before you plotted against me. You don't deserve my help. I owe you nothing. But we're family. Don't be ridiculous. You can't just turn your back on us. That was the moment I realized that they still thought they had a right to my life and my success. I was furious. I remembered all the years of favoritism, manipulation, and betrayal. I built my life from the ground up while you tore each other down. You think I owe you something after everything you've done. You had your chance, and you threw it away. Deal with your problems yourself. I hung up the phone. I had thought it was over, but they had become increasingly desperate to reconnect with me, and it quickly morphed into an obsession. They began showing up uninvited at events I organized, lingering outside the doors, watching me like hawks. There was no doubt that they were stalking me. Their messages flooded my phone, apologies, pleas for forgiveness, and reminders of our shared blood. At first, I tried to ignore them, but their persistence was maddening. They left notes on my car, calling me ungrateful, demanding to know why I wouldn't just help them get back on their feet. Things escalated one fateful evening when my children and I were playing in the backyard. I spotted my father hiding near the edge of the trees. I immediately took my kids, rushed inside, and locked the door. I couldn't believe they had the audacity to show up at my home. The next day, I received a call from my mother.
James, if you don't help us, you'll regret it. We know where your children are, and we know where your wife works.
I was afraid for my wife and children's safety. I rushed to the police station to report the threats and immediately filed for a restraining order. However, my family broke the terms repeatedly, showing up at events, trying to get my attention. Their behavior became bolder and more reckless. They would stand outside my office waiting for me. They would run after my car, yelling at me. One night, I was alone in my living room when I began hearing noises. I checked from my window and saw my security guards beating up some people. I immediately went outside to check, only to see Ella and my parents. Apparently, they'd tried to break in my house, but my security guards caught them. The guards had mistook them for robbers and beat them up. I let them beat my parents and Ella until they could barely move before I called the police. The police arrived within minutes. I was so relieved as I watched them handcuff my parents and Ella, pushing and treating them like the criminal they were. They were dragged out of my building because they could barely walk. The next day, I was at the station to press charges. This time, they would face real consequences for their actions. Since the previous 5-year jail term wasn't enough to teach them a lesson, I hoped they would get a longer one. And of course, 1 month later, they each got 10 years imprisonment for their continuous harassment, breaking into my house, stalking me, and disobeying the terms in the restraining order. The news relieved me. It was hard to admit, but I enjoyed seeing them fall from grass to an even messier grass again. They had turned their lives into a mess, and I felt zero guilt for putting them in their places. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.